All right. Without any further delay, I want to introduce Rick Gold from sunny southern Florida. Talked to Rick several times here in the past few years. And Rick, just want to thank you for coming on. How's it going?
It's going great, Brandon. Thanks a lot. Can you hear me okay?
Coming through loud and clear to me.
Awesome.
So
great.
Good.
Thanks for having me on.
Right. Yes, good to hear from you again. I know you've called in on a Friday call a few times, and again, like Reed said, we're spotlighting practitioners that are out there doing the work. I know you've been doing that work for quite a while now, helping people. So just want to take that time to say thanks for everything you're doing to support people's health there. And I'm not sure it's not just in South Florida, but all over. I know you do some distant stuff as well. So good job there. But I was going to ask you, Rick, what brought you to FDN? How did you find out about us in the first place?
I think it's kind of a similar story to most of us, right? I mean, I'm 41 now, so I was a 30-something-year-old guy, medicine cabinet full of drugs, prescription drugs.
Yep.
And
gotta clarify.
Just gotta clarify that. And so, I had, just a whole slew of symptoms, man. Like, the only diagnosed medical condition I had was GERD, gastroesophageal reflux. But other than that, it was just, major allergies, low immunity, chronic sinus infections, always getting sick. Anytime there was something going around, I could be sure that I was getting it. Just major indigestion, stomach aches. I had this slew of symptoms, and I would go from doctor to doctor, and this has been since I was in college. And I'd go from doctor to doctor. None of them could figure anything out about what was going on. They did blood tests, said everything looks fine, and then they would send me off with my prescription. So here, take this to get to sleep. Here, take this for your anxiety. Take this for your allergies. So I got to the point where I was, in my early 30s, and I really just had enough. And I realized that, okay, I've been through the ringer with conventional medicine, spent thousands of dollars on going to allergists, and none of this is working for me. And so there's got to be something else. And I ended up, I used to go to CrossFit and work out there about like 7 years ago. And what some of the CrossFitters were doing the paleo diet. And at first I was like, what is this, garbage paleo diet? I was kind of dismissing it. And one day I picked up Rob Wolf's book. I read it cover to cover in a couple of days just because I was desperate. I was like, well, I didn't know anything. I didn't even know FDN existed at the time, right? And so I read the book. I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. 30 days on a paleo diet. And lo and behold, within 2 weeks, so many of my symptoms abated, and it was such a light bulb for me. And that's not me saying I think that every single person should be doing a paleo diet. That's not what I'm saying. But it's just the point of, how diet is so important. What you're eating, what you're putting in your body, on your skin, and lifestyle, all that stuff is so important for your health. And I got really excited to share that with friends and family. Also really mad because why don't doctors know this? Why did my doctors talk to me about this stuff? I've been suffering for so many years. And so the whole series of events, I just started to get a lot more interested in lifestyle modification for, to improve your health. And then my mother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2011, which was basically like a death sentence for her. But that kind of, I was trying to help my mom. And so my research went from just kind of like, hey, how do I improve my health through lifestyle to what are the root causes of disease? What causes disease and how can I help my mother? And so I was, researching, just kind of self-taught. And next thing I knew, in January 2013, my mother passed. And it was kind of like a moment of clarity for me, a light bulb moment where I kind of finally realized what my passion really was. And I had already been helping so many people, friends and family, just for free to improve their health through lifestyle changes. I kind of just looked over at my wife and I was like, you know what? I found my passion. This is what I love to do. And I'm going to go get certified and I'm going to do this as a career. And it was scary for sure. Big change. I used to work with hedge funds. as a recruiter. So you couldn't think of a more, diametrically like opposite kind of career. But I'm glad that I did it, and it really is truly my passion. And I was choosing between IIN and FDN. And I'll never forget the call that I had with Reed, because I kind of called up. I called him, and said, hey, I heard about FDN. I think I heard of it through Sean Croxton. And I was like, hey, I heard about FDN, and, I'm thinking of doing IIN or this, I don't know. And, what sealed the deal for me was the ability to use labs when you get certified as an FDN, to be able to use the labs to get some concrete evidence to go off of, instead of just using kind of guesswork when you're working with people. If you graduate from IIN, which I think is a good program, it's just a lot of guesswork. And so what drew me to FDN was the ability to kind of go deeper with people with the labs. Sorry for the long explanation.
Oh, it's good. It's good. That's the story, and that's what when somebody signs up for the FDN course, that's one of the things as a mentor, you get to hear that story. Where did you come from? And your background, Rick, is a lot like mine. It was in a totally different, unrelated field, and just started having health problems, albeit I had mine about 10 years earlier than you. But still did the same thing. Realized, hey, I can make a few changes here. A few people kind of spoke into my life and said, hey, you make a change here, stop doing this, do this, take a supplement here and there, and things started to improve. I started to feel better, and I was like, wow, this is something. It's kind of one of those things. It's like, well, this is something great. Why wouldn't everyone want to know about this? It's kind of just what you said. That's the point that you get to. It's like, wow, okay, this is something that the world needs to hear about, and I'm a little bit frustrated I didn't know about it, so maybe I can help some other people out of this pit. And you do that, and you kind of go down that rabbit hole, don't you? Like, wow, it's not just about diet. There's more than this. There's more than that. And I had the same phone call with Reed. Actually, I think he teases me about this. I had 4 phone calls with Reed talking about I always had some objection or some question that came up, and he was good to answer my questions, and took the plunge, and you kind of take it from there. So I know right where you're at with this.
That's funny, man. I had the same thing.
Totally.
I was teetering back and forth. Yeah, I had a bunch of questions. That's really funny. Yeah. I think at one point exactly. Reed was like kind of like, hey man, look, either do it or don't. Stop bothering me.
Pretty much it for me too. So
right. Yeah.
I'm glad I did it.
No comment.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. That is really good. So did you see? I know you made some changes before you got into FDN. What did the testing reveal? Did it give you some more insight into your health challenges? Yeah,
and I was so lucky to have Julie as my mentor. I really got on well with her, and she was just really great. But yeah, the labs showed dysbiosis. Didn't show any necessarily terrible infections or parasites or anything, but 401H showed dysbiosis. The 205 was showing, without a doubt, some adrenal dysfunction, some hormonal imbalances, low level of testosterone, and very low melatonin levels. So there was some dysfunction going on. And what else? What other labs did I run? I had lots of food sensitivities, so there was some good evidence that there was some leaky gut and inflammation, irritation, poor absorbing of nutrients. I had some vitamin deficiencies, mineral deficiencies. And so the labs were great because they gave us kind of just areas to focus on, right? Like it kind of gives you a little bit of clarity, like, okay, this is something we know is going on with you, and it's correlating with the way you feel. And so it just gives you a good direction to go in.
Those healing opportunities we talk about is something to work on.
Correct,
like
yeah.
you said before, you went to the doctor and ran the typical blood test, and you feel horrible. All these symptoms are going on, but it's not giving you anything to work with. Not that those tests are bad and they're not beneficial in certain situations, but it's more like, well, this doesn't tell me anything to do. All it tells me is hey, take this drug. There's nothing I can actually do about my health, and I think that's where people get into so much that they don't think they can actually affect their health or do anything to make a change in it. It's just, well, just do this, just how it is. You're old, you have this, you're born with this, you're getting older, it's just how life is. I don't have any control over things. I think I don't think people like that. They feel like they have some semblance of control somewhere in their lives. I think it's health is one place where you really can take a lot more control and get better results than what you think.
Yeah, man, and that's what this is all about. And just for me, feeling empowered. You said it perfectly. Like when I was going through the conventional medical model with my own issues, I felt completely powerless. I felt like, there's nothing that I can do to feel better. I just need to go to a doctor and deal with whatever the doctor tells me or take whatever prescription they prescribed for me and then hope for the best. And I think that that's how a lot of people are. And it was so incredibly empowering for me when I started to make the changes, when I started to run the labs and I started to kind of target my protocol to fix certain things. And it was just so incredibly empowering for me. And that's what I try to impress upon potential clients and clients of mine is that, I love the saying, genetics loads the gun, lifestyle and environment pulls the trigger. And so that is such an empowering way to think. And it's not just BS or hokey. It's true. You can be dealt with a really crappy set of genetics, but just because that's the case, it doesn't mean you have to be in poor health. You can live a lifestyle that is anti-inflammatory and that keeps that gene expression turned down if you just know what to do. And FDN was a really great roadmap.
I have to jump in here and say that Tuesday night I had dinner with our medical director, Dr. Bailey, and another doctor, just an amazing scientist, really, really well-known guy. I'm not going to drop names now. But they were talking, I was talking learning and listening. But this other doctor, we talked about that, and he said that his opinion is that your health and wellness is about 8% genetics, about 92% epigenetics. So exactly what you just said, Rick. It's not genetics that loads the gun. That's what you're saying. Your lifestyle, and so. And that's a maybe. That's a big maybe. So and Bailey, who is our mentor, and he's absolutely agreed. He's the numbers are rough, but 8% genetics, and it would leave like 92% epigenetics or the lifestyle stuff that makes them express. So you're absolutely right. Anyway, I had to jump in there with that little anecdote.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you know what drives me crazy? I know I'm kind of going on a little bit of a tangent, but, like, for instance, the whole Angelina Jolie breast cancer thing. She had her breast removed because she had that BRCA gene for breast cancer. And this is a personal thing for me because a close friend of mine, his wife, just had both of her breasts removed because she tested positive. Did she have breast cancer? No. She just had that gene, and there's so much hysteria out there. And before she had the surgery done, I sat with her and I said, look, you've got the gene, right? Yeah, I have the gene. Okay. Do you have breast cancer? Well, no. I said, okay. Well, so that should be proof to you that having the gene doesn't mean you'll have breast cancer. Because if all it was genetics and you have that gene, then you would have come out of the womb with breast cancer. So there's something that happens between the moment you're born and the moment you develop breast cancer that flips that switch, turns that gene on, and that's epigenetics, that's lifestyle. And I tried to explain that to her, and it just kind of fell on deaf ears. But, yeah, I'm in full agreement.
Yeah. No, that's right, man. They call it prophylactic surgery, prophylactic double radical mastectomy, and it's being done every day. It's just
ridiculous.
Well, your grandma had breast cancer, your mom had breast cancer. It's only a matter of time before you get it. So let's just cut those things off right now. It's, in my opinion, it's at least drastic, if nothing else.
I like to call it voluntary self-mutilation.
Yeah, yeah. Before I get in trouble, that's all I'm going to say about it.
Yeah. Sorry for the tangent.
No, that's good. It's real life. It's real situations, but people are doing it. It's telling you the mentality of people out there that one of our goals is hopefully to change a lot of that, or as many people as we can influence. That's what it comes down to. Well, Rick, I asked you this question earlier here, and you're really honest about it. But as far as your own journey, especially working with the FDN protocols and the Dress for Health Success program, what challenges did you come up against doing it, just like walking it out and doing the protocols?
I think for me, and this is something that I kind of publicized to the whole community and Reed and everyone while I was doing my protocols, and Julie was helping me to put them together. I think the biggest challenge for me was the volume of supplementation. It just and it's not that I think that they weren't good, or that's not good to supplement or anything like that, but just there was just so much, and you get to a point where I think I got to a point where I was taking like 20 to 30 pills, a couple times a day, or three times a day, and it just got to the point where doing the supplementation was actually causing me a lot of emotional stress, which is totally counterproductive to getting better. And so I had to kind of sit with Julie and figure out a happy medium with okay, let's figure out what the most important ones are for me to be taking here, because this is getting a little crazy. But that was a valuable lesson for me, because now when I work with clients, I'm very sensitive to that with them, because I understand, I've been through it, and I understand that it can be a stressful event in and of itself to have to go through these protocols. So, but that was probably the hardest part for me. Everything else, and then also obviously, I had to make lifestyle changes, right? And so I'm married, and my wife, met me when I was a different person. When we met, we were going out every night and drinking alcohol and partying in New York City. And I even used to be a promoter for clubs in New York City, not 15 years ago. So you can imagine the dramatic lifestyle changes that I was making and how that was kind of falling on her. And, I think that was really difficult. So I think that those two were probably the worst parts, most challenging parts for me.
Yep. I think the lifestyle is almost harder than the supplements for most people. Making big changes. I'm sure your sleeping schedule sounds like it changed alone, just making that shift there.
Very much so. A lot has changed.
Yep.
And even still, my wife is like, because I'm always changing. I'm still, I learn more and more every day, and I'm applying new and different things to improve my health and, optimize me in every way possible. And, I kind of feel bad for her, because she's kind of along for this ride, and it's not even something she signed up. She must really love me, I guess.
There you go. we'll say that.
I hope.
Sure. Right. I'm sure. So, but yeah, it does highlight, like you said there, the power of, when we talk about the DRESS protocol, it's DRESS, it's 5 points there. And so you've got not just the supplements, which can make a big difference and are beneficial in most every circumstance, but you've got your diet, you've got your rest, you've got your exercise, and the huge category of stress reduction. So I always tell people, the better you do the first 4 letters here, the less of the supplements that you're going to need. So focus on that portion of it, and help them make those lifestyle changes and walking them through that. The coaching is such a huge part of it, and I think the advantage that you have, and we all should have this advantage as practitioners, you've done it. You walked the walk. You've made the changes. You've made the sacrifices. You've learned about things along the way, and that's what makes you a good practitioner. You can empathize with those people.
Yeah. All I have to say to what you just said about doing the first 4 parts really well, and then not needing as much of the last part, the supplementation, is boom, perfect, man. That was like, I'm going to start saying that to people, because I really like that. I mean, it's perfect. Yep. It's so true. Yep. If you do everything right with your lifestyle, then you're not going to need supplement as much, because your lifestyle will be really putting you in a position to lower inflammation and do all the things necessary to really heal. So that's fantastic.
Yep. I say too, people complain about the cost of the supplements. I'm like, well, you have to do all 5 things: diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, supplementation. You have to do them all. So if you got to do them all, why don't you focus on these other things, these 4 other things that are going to help you? That's going to reduce your cost overall. That's really what you want. So just embrace it, go for it, make those changes as you can. Exactly. Well, Rick, I asked you before things you kind of took away from the FDN course. We talked about the epigenetics side of things. Anything else, like a principle that you want to throw out there again that you took away from the course that you picked up that Reed taught us?
Yeah, I loved learning about how the body is, everything in the body, every organ system is so connected, right? And I didn't really know. I didn't understand because, again, conventional medicine doesn't look at the human body that way, right? Everything is segmented. You got a neurologist for your brain. You got a gastroenterologist for your stomach. You've got endocrinologist for your hormones. You've got, and it's so on and so forth. And every one of them has their specialty, but none of them knows much about the other stuff. And none of them make the connection ever that, a brain issue could be a gut issue, could be a liver issue, could be, and so the issue could be originating somewhere outside of the organ system that actually has the issue. And when I learned how everything was interconnected in the course, that was like light bulb after light bulb for me, and especially seeing how like endocrinologists treat, this is a perfect example, seeing how an endocrinologist treats hormonal imbalances. They treat it exactly like they would treat, your car runs out of gas, you take it to the gas station and fill it up. That makes sense because a car doesn't endogenously make gas, right? So you have to fill it up exogenously. Well, your body is supposed to, if it's healthy, and no matter what age you are, it's supposed to make an age-appropriate balance of hormones. And just to say, oh, well, you're low on this hormone, let's fill it up like a car with gas, is kind of just neglect human physiology and biology and how we're made. And so learning how hormones really are, they're really like the canary in the coal mine. They're the last thing to really let you know that something's wrong, right? So you've got years of dysfunction, wherever it may be, in your gut and, in your liver, wherever it may be. And that shows up in your hormones because of the chronic stress. That to me was, so powerful.
Hey, that's good, Rick. I appreciate that, and that's a good example. But I'll tell you, you might not remember this. I was just thinking about you, and back, it's a long time ago. But you had, in addition to some time we spent before you signed up, once you did, once you started sort of getting into it and wanting to do some labs on some people's stuff, you went around we had a couple go-rounds on how can I do this as not a physician. Okay, I think your wife's a lawyer, and so you're like, because you had questions about that too, which I'm glad you finally settled, but, I remember you having a hard time with that.
For sure, yeah. Especially because I live in a red state, right? I live in, Florida's very conservative about this stuff, so you got to be really careful. And you can do it. You can do it no matter what state you live in. You just got to make sure that you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's, and that you're setting up your practice the right way, and that you're saying the right things and representing yourself properly. And as long as you're doing that, then you're all right. And I can assure anyone on this call that really is the case. And yes, my wife is a healthcare attorney. She's not a regulatory attorney, but she's pretty damn smart and knows. And she did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. So I'm just kidding, but no, she knows this stuff pretty well, and she has friends who are regulatory attorneys in healthcare who research this. And I basically, when I was setting up my practice, I had my wife and her friends in regulatory healthcare say, you can say this, you can't say that. You can represent yourself this way and not that way. And that's exactly how I set up my website, how I set up my business cards, the way I spoke to people. I tailored it all to making sure that I was staying within the bounds of legality.
Yeah, and it's not that hard to do. A lot of it's common sense. But I just want to bring that to your attention. I remember you
yeah.
questioned me about, So, and this is
I was a pain in the ass, man. I know.
No. Listen, I like to be challenged. Matter of fact, what I'm noticing is a lot of the people we're having on the FDN Spotlight who are very successful, they are the people who questioned and who called me and, just kind of got engaged along the way with whatever was on their mind. Because a lot of people have no concerns in that area, but it's a different concern, But what I'm just saying, though, is the people going through the course who, while they're still going through it, are actually engaging in the process of, like, getting on Friday calls even, asking questions, calling me up or emailing me or something like that. I'm an accessible guy. Yeah, I'm super, super busy, but this is what I do. I'm never too busy. Was I ever too busy for you, Rick?
No, not at all. You definitely addressed my concerns, and we had some good conversations, and I felt once we did address them, I felt more comfortable.
Yeah, man.
And I have, by the way, trainees contact me a lot. I don't even really know how it happened. Maybe because they heard me on one of the calls. I came on and we talked about this, but they they contact me a lot saying, hey, I want to set my practice up the right way, and what am I doing this right? Or should I be saying this or that? And I'm happy to help them. I do it regularly.
And we're gonna start giving out your phone number instead of mine, then, man.
But you're right, man. It is a
lot.
Lot of,
thank you for assisting. That's paying it forward, man. Like being a peer-to-peer, kind of a mentor. I appreciate it, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Hey, look, a lot of us are. For some of us, this is kind of like a hobby, or they just do it because they want to improve their own health with no intention of doing it as a career. But for other ones, like for me, this is serious for me, man. This is my career. I wanted to make sure that what I'm doing isn't going to land me in jail or something. Like I had to really feel okay with that and vet the whole thing out. And so, but I'm glad that I did it because it made me a lot smarter about how to set everything up and whatnot. And part of, like, for me here in Florida, you can't really you can't give out, unless you're a registered dietitian or a doctor or chiropractor, you can't give out specified dietary advice for remuneration. You can't get paid for it, right? So how did I get around that? Well, I found a registered dietitian who wasn't a dope, who didn't believe that you should drink Coke at 3 p.m. when you get that afternoon low, and who believed in functional medicine. And I got on with her, and we really got along well. And I told her what my challenges were as a non-licensed practitioner, and she was like, "Listen, let's team up. I'm happy to work with you, and I'll put my stamp on all of your nutritional protocols that you do with clients and whatnot." And so that's what we do. And now she's a part of my staff on FDN.
Nice.
And for Goal Functional Wellness, and now with this new venture that I'm doing. So now I have no qualms whatsoever about creating detailed nutritional protocols for clients, because all I do is I email it over to her. She comes back to me in an email saying, I approve this. And I've got all of it on record, and I pay her to do that.
Yeah, man.
So that's how you get around stuff like that. You just have to, it's not that you can't do it. You just have to understand, the laws and how to, do everything on the up and up.
Always.
Yep.
So what, Rick, I don't know if you can really say this at this point, I probably can, but what portion of the population do you deal with? Are there certain people or demographic or conditions that kind of crop up real commonly with your clientele?
Yeah, what a good question, man. And this is something that I've struggled with since I got licensed. I will say that I never really kind of declared a major. I never really said, hey, this is my niche, and what I'm going after. And maybe my practice struggled early on as a result because I wasn't, really focused on one specific niche. I was just like, hey, anyone who really wants to improve their health, I can work with them. But what ended up happening was, by sheer dumb luck, I mean, it's just who was coming to me. My clientele, probably 90% of them are women probably aged 35 to, let's say, 55. They're mothers. Some of them are grandmothers. They've got some kind of autoimmune condition. And so that's who my clientele became. It just gravitated towards that. But no, I don't have any kind of real niche. But it's funny because I'm a lot like Brian Walsh from the call last week. Something he said really resonated with me, where he was telling Reed, he was like, man, I'm not the kind of practitioner that likes kind of hand-holding people and, being their therapist and whatever. He's like, I like, if somebody's really there and they're ready to improve their health, they're ready to make, do all the things necessary, that's somebody that I want to work with. And that's kind of where I've come full circle to, where it's like, hey, I don't really care what your, symptoms are or what your condition is or whatever it is, because I know that the things that I work on with people, that's going to help anybody, right? If you do if you do dress and you do it correctly, no matter what your issue is, maybe it's not going to cure it fully 100% or whatever, but you're going to feel better by doing this stuff, and it's going to improve your health from the inside out. So what I really care about is not, do you fit in my niche or not? What I really care about is your commitment level 100 out of 10? Because if it's not, I have no desire to work with you, because I'm not the kind of practitioner who likes to hold people's hands and who, and this is probably, one of my faults as a practitioner, that I'm not this like, I don't like it. I'm more like, look, this is what's going on. This is what you need to do to fix it. I'll help you. I'll guide you. I'll do everything. I'll give you all the tools you need. But, I'm not a therapist, and I don't want to be. So I need the people coming to me who are, they're there. They're at their wits' end, and they want to make changes, and they're ready, and they don't care what the changes are, and they're going to be committed. I don't care what what your issue is. If that's you, I'll work with you.
So how quickly do you know if they're ready or not? Can you tell that in the first meeting you have with that person, like an intro type session, or does it take a little while before that comes out? How do you figure that out?
For sure. That first call, I talk to them. I find out those questions that Reed, I think the 5 questions, Reed, that you've taught us for a long time. I don't even remember off the top of my head exactly what they were, but it was something like, how long have you been dealing with this? What have you tried that hasn't worked? And I ask them all this stuff. And when I hear that they're like, well, no, I just found, I've got Hashimoto's. Oh, okay. Well, what have you tried to fix it that hasn't worked? Oh, I don't know. I just found out last month. To me, I'm like, okay, well, you need to go to your doctor, and you need to figure it out or whatever. Go through the ringer. I want them to come back to me after they've exacerbated all of their other options. And you just got to ask questions and listen. And then a lot of times I'll push them away in the call, in that initial call. I'll say to them, look, the stuff that I'm going to work on with you. Okay, so you want to find out what's going on inside your body. You want to run labs. Great. Okay, so we'll run all of these labs. You'll pay me $1,500. You'll pay the labs, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now we found out all of this stuff, and I start telling you, you really can't drink alcohol right now. That's just not part of a healing program. You need to be in bed every night at 10 p.m. You need to, and I start telling them like about, you can't eat gluten, you can't eat dairy, you can't eat these 20 foods that came up sensitive on your MRT or your ALCAT, whatever it is. Are you going to be okay with that? I say to them, what's your favorite food? Oh, ice cream. Okay. You can't eat ice cream anymore. Can you do this? Like you can't. So, and I explain it to them. I really lay it out. And for me, I don't care. This is the difference. When I first started as a practitioner, I just wanted to bring on clients. So I was kind of taking on anyone who would work with me. And now I feel like if I lose someone after that call, after I talk like that to them, I didn't really lose a client. I lost a headache, and I gained some sanity, because I have no desire to work with somebody that's not 100% committed. And so you just got to listen to what they say and ask a lot of questions. You'll figure it out in that first call.
Very good. I was going to say also, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but once they become your client, you think that they're a good fit for you, what are some challenges that you see that you come up against? I know you, like I said, don't want to handhold as little as you have to, but what are some of the challenges and stuff that you do face once they are committed and getting there with you?
Yeah, again, I think it's the same thing. It is, oh yeah, I'm committed, blah blah blah. This is what you hear from all of them, because you'd be surprised how many people, when you push them away, how they run even faster towards you. And so no, I'm committed, I want to work with you, blah blah. Okay, fine. So you take them on as a client, and I start going through the whole rigmarole with them and giving them the protocol recommendations for what it is that we find, and and then they start stalling on the stuff, and they're not following my recommendations exactly as I tell them, and they start complaining that, wow, this is really overwhelming and whatever, and I tell them, look, this is what we spoke about in the first conversation. This is not a magic pill. These are lifestyle modifications. I'm not saying that you need to do all of them immediately, but you need to whatever it is that works for you. Pick one important modification a week and kind of like put that into your lifestyle, inject that into, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And I try to explain to them, just don't give up. That's the most important thing. Don't give up. But what I think that the biggest challenge is once I sign them up is that really it's not what they wanted, maybe 10 to 20% of the clients that I sign up that say that that's what they want is to make lifestyle change. They're serious, and they're like my star pupils, and they really get better. And then the other 80 to 90% are, they just kind of, they're really fed up with how they feel. But then once they start going through all the lifestyle changes, they kind of realize, I don't know if I want it that badly. I don't know if I want to feel better that badly. I think I want to go back to my doctor and see if he can give me a pill, because that's just the way our society is accustomed to, behaving with their health. So I think that the thought paradigm we have today in America, that's the biggest challenge to me having success with clients, or to them, the difference between their success or failure on my program. It's really 10% me delivering the information and the protocols, and 90% them actually doing what needs to be done.
Yeah,
so
you can't. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Reed.
Sorry. I was just going to say, you have to be at peace with that, and I know you are, Rick, that you don't control the outcomes. We don't control outcomes. We can't guarantee results. I just guarantee one thing. I'm there for the right reason, and there to help, and there to teach. And then the rest is just reasonable expectations. I love saying that to people.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're at peace with that, and everyone kind of needs to take that to heart. That it's going to come from what they do, and you just observe what they're doing and guide them. Okay, here, you need DRESS. They need to, the goal is to be doing each one 100%. And so, basically, Rick, I don't know if you've seen our new case notes form, but it's really, really helpful in helping you track a case, because you write out your DRESS, and then when you're managing that person, or you're meeting with them, whether it's once a week or once a month, you review each. What percentage are you doing the diet? To what percentage are you doing the rest? To what percentage are you doing the exercise, and so on? And so the person just going through that exercise is going to realize, wow, I'm really not doing the program, am I? If they're
exactly.
If they're struggling with it. It's like,
yeah.
and so at the end of that, just going through what percentages, then you go, well, what do you think you need to do here to get better results? Oh, gee, maybe I should just do the program better. You don't. Doing is no sweat when you take that approach. That they just, because really we have no other solution then DRSS. You can't get out a prescription pad. You damn sure can't get out your scalpel, much as you'd like to sometimes. You only have that set of principles to coach up their health and better function. You only have those things. There is nothing else you can do for them. And unless you're a licensed practitioner and you can stick pins in them, or you can there's other types of practitioners. They stick pins in a little doll that looks like you. Or you can make the physical hands-on stuff and adjusting. So unless you're doing those things, all you have is dress. And so it's to what percent? Anyway, so you're right on there, Rick. Good job.
Yeah, and I don't, there's some practitioners, I'm not knocking them. I think it's fantastic. The ones who are really great at hand holding and it's probably, like I said, it's an admitted weakness of me as a practitioner is, I do not like the hand holding. I'm not, you're not hiring me to be your babysitter. You're hiring me to be somebody who tells you, who helps you to understand what's happening inside your body and how to get better. And that's what I'm going to do. That's what you're paying me to do. And so, I don't like the hand holding. I do it to the extent that I'm able to, just because I really care about people and I want them to get better. But the minute I see that they're really kind of just pushing back and they're not doing things that I asked them to do, I tell them, I said, look, as long as you're willing to do the things that I recommend, I will not give up on you. But the minute I feel like my repeated recommendations are falling on deaf ears constantly, and that you're listening to what I say and then just going and doing something else, that's the minute I'm going to stop caring about working with you, because there's nothing else I could do. You're wasting my time. You're wasting your own time. And, I can be very frank, and as a matter of fact, and, maybe that might rub some clients the wrong way, but what are you here for? If you want a therapist, go to a therapist. Don't go to me.
Yeah. So speaking of that, Rick, as far as you have things structured, obviously therapy and counseling is not one of your offerings. But other than FDN, are you offering anything else or how do you have things packaged as far as your business goes right now? I'm saying, is there chiropractor or masseuse or things like that you're working with? How do you have it set up right now?
Yeah, I got a lot going on, man. I got some really good stuff going on. So I told you guys that I brought in a registered dietitian, and that happened probably towards the beginning of 2015. But since then I have teamed up with, and I've closed down Gold Functional Wellness, and I've started up a new entity called Biomedical. I have 2 registered dietitians on staff now. I've teamed up with 2 other people as my partners. And the reason I did that was because, and again, like sitting here talking about all my weaknesses as a practitioner, well, I'm not a great, I can do sales. I don't like doing sales. I can do marketing. I don't really like it. I don't know a ton about web development, or that there's so many hats you have to wear as an entrepreneur and as a business owner. And I think that was one of the biggest things for me, kind of coming out. Like, I'd never run my own business before. And so here I was, I got this shiny new certificate from FDN, and I'm going to go change the world, and I'm going to work with people. And then, then my wife's like, she runs her business, and she's like, well, you got to incorporate. What kind of corporation are you going to make? What has the best tax advantages? What are you going to do about bookkeeping? What are you going to do about your website? What are you going to do about this? That? And I realized there's like a million hats that you got to wear. And I don't know a lot about most of them. And so, I was kind of floundering for a little while with that stuff, learning it. And then I grew some expertise, but then I realized, well, there's only so many hours in a day. And if I'm spending all this time on, web development and content creation and this and that, then, sales suffers and marketing suffers and advertising suffers. And then if I focus on the other stuff, everything else suffers. And so for me, the biggest realization that I came to, and this is just for me, there may be some other people who can be on their own and do fantastic. But for me, I was like, I need to split the pie up here. I need to partner up with people who are really good at the stuff that I'm not good at or not knowledgeable about, and let them take care of that, and let me do what I'm good at, which is to, provide the content for the program, work with the clients, and just really, the protocols, things like that. So I ended up partnering up with two people, one who is like a PR sales marketing guru, and the other one who's an ex-engineer from Motorola, very automated thinking, like systems automated. He's kind of like automating our whole program, the website, everything. So, and he's also got, the CFO kind of mind, so he's doing the CFO work and the bookkeeping and whatever. And so now between the three of us, we're now starting to build a practice that is going to be just killer. And we're building a program that's based on a lot of the concepts of dress and then some, that's going to be kind of like an automated online wellness platform where we're going to be focusing on bringing in physicians like doctors, internal medicine docs who want to get into the functional medicine, but they don't want to spend $175K, paying a functional medicine doctor to come on board or, anything like that. They want to go low risk. So they plug into our platform, into our wellness platform, and there's a revenue sharing aspect. And then we're going into corporate wellness. So right now what's happening is we're in the development phases. We're kind of in like a quiet mode. We're not advertising. We're not, kind of saying anything about really what we're doing to too many people. And I'm kind of knee deep in content creation, website creation, all of that stuff in the background. And we actually just brought in an FDNer to work with us, Monique Davis. So she's now part of the Biomedical team. And frankly, as we grow, we're probably going to want to bring on a lot more FDNers to work with clients, because I'm telling you, this sales and marketing guru that I'm working with, that's now my partner, she is the real deal. And I've seen what she can do in other businesses of hers. So I have no doubt we're going to bring in a lot of clients, and there's no way I can handle them alone and Monique can handle them alone. So stay tuned for that, because, there's going to be some options.
Man, fantastic. We had another FDN Spotlight success story, and she is also hiring some FDNs, basically, because people are good at different things. And that's just fantastic. I mean, that's the kind of expansion that I've been looking for a long time. And it's been happening slowly but surely. And it's really delightful to hear that, Rick. And Monique Davis, is an excellent candidate. You found a good person there. I thought she was in California, though. Did she move to Florida, or are you doing distance work?
We're doing distance. She's actually in Texas, near the Woodlands. But yeah, no, I don't mind. I do distance work. I don't mind working with an FDNer that's across the country or even anywhere in the world.
Yep. Right on.
But I'm trying to keep it to FDNers. Like, for instance, I just had a naturopathic physician just the other day call me and ask me if she could join, and I turned her away, because I know that she wasn't taught the way that we were taught, and I know that there's going to be conflicts, because she's going to want to do a lot of things that with clients that in my company that I would be liable for, that where I don't know if I'm okay with, right? So I'm pretty much going to, whenever we're going to organically grow, because we have too many clients for coaches to handle, we're going to look for in the pool of other FDN coaches to bring on.
Man, that's just outstanding. Yeah. Well, by the way, you're going to find that, I'm sure you're going to have some hoops for them to jump through, and that's fair enough, but the course is just getting more and more, I'll say, full of goodies. Look, this, anyone who's graduated in the past, don't take this as any kind of slight on you at all. But I'm noticing that the graduates recently, and we're doing 4, 5, 6 graduates a week. I mean, you just heard Brandon read off a list of, what was it, 6 this week. So we are having people get through, even though the course is more complex, there's more lessons, there's more material, there's a lot to do. We've changed a lot of things, and the quality of graduates is just fantastic. Now it always has been. So I don't know what I'm trying to say exactly. I'm really impressed.
I know what you're saying. You're saying they're coming out more prepared than and maybe a little bit more knowledgeable. Yeah.
I think it is more prepared. That's right. Like they're ready for business. You know, whereas in the past it might have been that they still weren't certain. Like even you weren't that certain. You still had to feel your way around a lot. And so, all of that feedback from past graduates, it's now in the course. I mean, it's all built in, like feedback that you gave me and that other grads from, 5, 6, 7 years ago, they're like, well, I wish that was there when I took your course. Well, it's in there now, and again, the basic principles haven't changed, but I think the preparation people are going through is definitely prepared them more to go to work. Now, you probably still want them to have some experience. They've worked with some clients. And we might come up with, this is me, Brandon's going to hate this, because every time I say something, it's more stuff for him to manage. But we kind of apprenticeship where, if FDNs would be willing to work for a while, get a couple clients and help them and basically do it on like on an internship basis. Although then that doesn't always work out. Yesterday I went to the doctor's office for my 20-year checkup. About how often I've been to the doctor. I'm in for my 20-year checkup, and this intern kept poking holes in my arm. She couldn't get a vein. I got veins like railroad tracks. They're huge. Nobody misses. Anyway, so interns don't always work out, but we should have some FDN interns. I think Jen Maleka, who we had on a few weeks ago as the FDN spotlight, she's doing interns. Anyway, I'm just thinking out loud. Don't mean to cause any trouble for anyone.
No, I think that's a fantastic idea. And you know what, man? I think, Reed, you and I had this talk a couple of years ago where I said to you, I was like, I need to practice on people, and the whole thing with the self-care program. I looked at that and I was like, this is something that I really am interested in because it gives me a chance to, really build my confidence as a practitioner.
Yeah, so, even to that point, we have added case reviews to the course now. So you actually work on some mock-ups, and they've run all 5 labs, which is different than how we used to do it. So now all graduates will have worked on 2 people and done all 5 labs. Back in the day it was like, well, you have to find 2 people and you have to run 2 labs on them. And it's just not the same. You get a better experience by doing mock-ups, but they've run all 5 labs, and they're kind of seeing how the whole thing fits together. And we'll just keep adding. We're going to keep developing and improving. And everyone who's ever taken the course has full access to all the current lessons. So if you're, I'll say, an old FDN, and there's reason for you not to get all the updates and everything. Just log in and catch up, So,
hey,
Brandon, I'll let you
see.
Yeah.
Just real quick. One quick last thing. I know that the call's about to end, but I just wanted to let you know another cool thing that I'm working on that should benefit FDN greatly is I think most FDNers love standard process, and so myself included. I just got an account with standard process through my registered dietitian, and I sat with the rep, and I had a 2-hour call with her where she had no idea what FDN was. And I sat down with her and we spoke about my experience and the training and the certification and what you have to do in the course to graduate and, the case studies and the clients and all this stuff. And she was amazed, not just at that, but also she was really impressed with my knowledge base. And she said like 3 times during the call, she was like, Rick, you know more about functional medicine than a lot of doctors that have accounts with standard process, a lot of chiropractors that have accounts with standard. And she was like, I want to petition standard process to start recognizing FDN as a a certification where any FDN practitioner can just open up an account with us. And so I hope you don't mind, Reed, but I said, look, you should speak to Reed Davis. I was like, because Reed, I'm sure Reed would want his people to have, direct contact to be able to open an account with you guys. So she's thinking and throwing it around with her national sales manager right now to see if they could set something up to kind of do a formal review of FDN and kind of talk to you.
That would be great, and I welcome that very much. And you did the right thing, and anyone with a contact or a question or anything like that Rick is saying, you came in touch with something, you can refer them directly to me, and I will try to vet it out. Now, one of the issues is that I get asked to vet out a bunch of crap, and I really can sort of just take a look at it and go, been there, done that. I certainly don't do MLMs, anything that's multi-level marketing. I won't even look at. But the standard process, believe it or not, was the first training I ever received. They have an educational branch called the IFNH, and that was my first certification in nutritional therapy. And but then it was much more formal. They had a 10-month course, and you had to work on patients in between lessons. And I fortunately worked. It was really for chiropractors only. You had to be licensed, but I got in as a chiropractic assistant, as CA. So they as long as the doctor that I worked with was at every session, I got to go as her assistant. But they certified me to, okay, you passed, you did all the hoops. I mean, I did everything. I worked on hundreds and hundreds of people during that time period, and I learned to use all of their products. But I used their software, the Nutritech. I mean, that is the system I followed. And I have to say, they have great products. But without the underlying investigation, so their investigation just fell short for me, and I wanted to run labs. So I put all their stuff on hold. I completely cleared my shelves. I mean, we had standard process. We would order it, and we had it on our shelves. We had all of their stuff, and I wiped the shelves off. We got rid of all of it. We sent back when I decided to start running lab work. So I completely changed, and I never went back to standard process because we found Ultralife, and Ultralife has pretty much the same stuff, same formulas. So everything that Ultralife has, all the Ultralife stuff, it's based on the Royal Lee formulas and things, and that because of my good friendship with Bill Wolcott, and that was like Ultralife is that was we just wanted to sort of help them out and not go with the big guys. Plus, standard process has been bought and sold by some interests that aren't really to my knowledge as connected to the original mission of standard process, which was the work of Royal Lee. And that's where I learned about Royal Lee and Weston Price and Melvin Page and all these old-time nutritionists and all that old stuff. And I studied all of their work, all this stuff thoroughly, and used standard process. And I have to say, to this day, their Conjuplex, Conjaplex, Conjuplex is a really good immune booster. And so they have some fantastic products. Anyway, that's kind of the whole short story on standard process. No axe to grind or anything like that. They introduced me. I mean, that was the first training I ever got. And the rep used to come by and take really good care of us and stuff. But really, when I started teaching FDN, they absolutely said, no way. There's no way on the planet. We're doctor only. Blah blah blah. So I dropped them for that reason, and plus Ultralife carries the same stuff basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're loosening up now, but yeah, that's a really interesting story, man.
Yeah. I mean,
so would you be interested?
Got my teeth on there.
If they wanted to reopen kind of a review of FDN, would you be interested or?
Send them my way. Like I say, that's part of my job is to vet things out. And we're past the time here, Rick. I don't think we're being recorded anymore. You know, they cut the recording off right at.
Yeah.
So, but listen, I'm happy to pick this up. You and I already have a date for the end of the month, right, to hook up and talk about some things.
Sounds good, man. Yep.
All right, you guys. I got to go to my next appointment, but love you all. Thanks very much for being on, Rick. You've been a big help. Brandon, thanks for everything. Talk to all you guys real soon.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks,
Reed.
Appreciate it, man. All right.
Yep. All right. Bye-bye.